think to understand biconservative, we need to understand first harmonic and biharmonic. Okay. So what is harmonic? If suppose we have a space of smooth functions, then these functions will be biharmonic if it is a critical point of energy functional. Okay. Just like here, if suppose you denote the space of a smooth map with CMN, that is manifold M and N with metric G and H between two Riemannian manifolds, then this will be, then the phi will be harmonic if it is a critical point of energy functional, which is given by phi equal to half of d phi mod of d phi square Vg. And it is characterized by the vanishing of the tension field tau phi, which is given by trace gradient of d phi. In a similar way, if you denote by IMM, the space of immersions in the space NH, then a Riemannian immersion is called minimal between M and N if it is a critical point of the volume functional, which is given by phi equal to half of M V phi star H, and its corresponding Euler-Lagrange equation is H equal to 0. So if phi is a Riemannian immersion, then it is a critical point of the energy in the space of smooth functions if and only if it is a minimal immersion. Thus, in order to study minimal immersions, one can look at harmonic Riemannian immersions. Natural generalization of harmonic maps and minimal immersions are biharmonic maps, which is the critical points of the bi-energy functional given by E2 half of M, and this is the square of mod of torsion, where torsion is given by trace gradient d phi is the tension field of phi. So this is the one way. The other way is to understand this. Its by chain defined this way. If we have a map X function X, then it is related with this way, where delta is the Laplacian operator, H is the mean curvature vector, N is the dimension of the submanifold. So it will be harmonic if and only if H is 0. Okay? So if it is minimal, then it is harmonic. If harmonic, then minimal. Okay. Then biharmonic is defined in this way. If we have a Laplacian of H equal to 0, then we say the submanifold is biharmonic. Why biharmonic? Because in harmonic we have delta x equal to 0. If you operate delta H, means here if you take one time more delta, if you operate here, we get this equation. Okay. So if delta H equal to 0, then we get delta square x equal to 0, and that's why this is biharmonic, because it is related with this one. If we say this one is harmonic, then we operate this operator Laplacian 2 times, and that's why we are saying now this is biharmonic. Okay, this is the concept. So both the definitions are equivalent. One is the variational principle, in which we find the Euler-Lagrange equation, and the other one is this, the by chain is defined. Both coincide if our target space is Euclidean space. But if you have other space, then both are not equivalent. So the variational principle is the more generalization, or you can say generalization of the definition of BY chains for biharmonic submanifolds in Euclidean spaces. So, some development here. There are in the last decades, there have been growing interest in the study of biharmonic maps, and which can be divided into main research directions. On the one side, the differential geometric aspect has driven attention to the construction of examples and classification results. The other one is analytic aspect from the partial differential equations. Biharmonic maps are the solution of a fourth order elliptic PDE. There are some other reasons to study biharmonic maps. This theory is quite old, and it was studied since 1862 by Maxwell. They described a mathematical model for elasticity. The theory of polyharmonic functions was also developed by Almansi, Levi-Sipta, and Nikolsky. The other one is harmonic map. Other reason is harmonic maps do not always exist. For example, there exists no harmonic map from the torus to sphere, whatever the metric we choose. So we expect that the biharmonic map may succeed to this. So here there is a relation. Harmonic map will consist in means harmonic maps is a subset of biharmonic maps, and then the minimal submanifold is biharmonic submanifold. So biharmonic submanifold is a larger class. Next. In 1924, Hilbert pointed that the stress energy tensor associated to a functional is a conservative symmetric to covariant tensor. Yes, that is the critical points of E, for that is divergence is equal to 0. For the bi-energy functional, Jiang defined the stress energy bi-energy tensor S2 and proved that it satisfies divergence S2 equal to Y tensor tau to phi d phi. Thus, if phi is biharmonic, then divergence S2 is 0. For biharmonic submanifold, from the above relation, we see that divergence S2 is 0 if and only if the tangent part of the bitension field vanishes. In particular, an isometric immersion is called Y-conservative if divergence S2 is 0. So now here we have the final, this one. Means here harmonic map is a subset of biharmonic map, minimal submanifold subset of biharmonic submanifold, and biharmonic submanifold is subset of biconservative submanifold. So we have this larger class. Now, some development on the biconservative submanifolds. It was studied by Hassanis and Glasgow first time in 95, and they classified biconservative hypersurfaces in E3 and E4. And they proved that the biconservative hypersurface in three-dimensional Euclidean space is a constant mean curvature surface or a surface of revolution. And in four-dimensional Euclidean space, it is one of the following type. It may be CMC hypersurface, or it may be some rotational hypersurface with non-constant mean curvature, or it may be some generalized cylinders over surface of revolution with non-constant mean curvature, or it may be some SO2 invariant hypersurface without constant mean curvature. So this is the classification given by Hassanis and Glasgow in three-dimensional or four-dimensional Euclidean space. Then, in the space form, in the Riemannian space form, the classification is given by Cadio, and they also classified in four-dimensional non-flat space form. Then, who have proved that the only by the now, so it's Euclidean and then the Riemannian space form. Now we come to semi-Euclidean space. So in semi-Euclidean space, classification was given by Fu, and he proved that in Minkowski space, three-dimensional space, biconservative surfaces are surface of revolutions and null sprawls. it was proved that the only biconservative surface in three-dimensional Lorentzian space form are a constant mean curvature surface or a rotational surface. Then Hu and Turgey classified biconservative hypersurfaces in four-dimensional Minkowski space with diagonal shape operator, because it's difficult. Like in case of semi-plane space, the shape operator is not always diagonalizable. So there exists non-diagonal shape operator. So they have classified only classification they give for diagonal shape operator. Then again, Upadhyay and Turgey classified biconservative hypersurface in five-dimensional semi-Euclidean space with index 2 with diagonal shape operator having three distinct spatial curvatures. Okay, so you can see difficulty. They cannot do this. In the 5-2, we can have at most 4 distinct spatial curvature. So they are able to only classify for 3 distinct spatial curvature. Further, they have constructed the example of biconservative hypersurface with 4 distinct spatial curvature. So, in view of this, I tried to classify biconservative Lorentz hypersurface in non-flat Lorentz space form whose shape operator has complex eigenvalue. So we have 4 types of shape operator for Lorentz in Lorentz hypersurfaces of Lorentz space form. The one is diagonal, the other one is the shape operator is complex eigenvalue, and there are 2 different non-diagonal shape operators. So it's difficult to work on those 2 other non-diagonal shape operator. So just I pick this one, and I am able to classify here. Complete classification I am able to give for this type of shape operator having complex eigenvalue. So the shape operator in the for Lorentz hypersurface with complex eigenvalue take this form: lambda mu minus mu lambda. So the first 2 are the complex eigenvalue lambda plus mu I and plus minus mu I. The other one dn minus 2, this is a diagonal diagonal eigenvalue lambda 3, lambda 4, lambda I. And the metric is here orthonormal metric. So here the basis is orthonormal, and the metric satisfies this condition. Means the first one is time lag even minus 1, and then the other are it's 1. So just I will introduce here because to prove the classification in sub formula. So here, if you have a Lorentz hypersurface immersed in non-flat Lorentz space form with constant sector curvature C, and G and G are the metric, and if you denote by J normal vector which is space like, then a vector X is called space like, time like, or light like according X. Its inner product are greater than 0, less than 0, or 0. And the mean curvature is given by 2.1. Also, the Gauss and Kudaji equations are given by 2.2 and 2.3. So, as I mentioned that the submanifold satisfied delta H equal to 0 is called biharmonic submanifold. The biharmonic equation can be decomposed into 2 parts, tangential and normal parts. So the submanifolds satisfying its tangential part is called biconservative submanifolds, and which is characterized by this way, by equation 2.5. And from here you can see that the gradient H is the eigenvector corresponding to eigenvalue of the shape operator minus nh upon 2. Since if suppose we have a constant mean curvature hypersurface, it is always biconservative. So that's why here we considered we are looking for non-constant mean curvature biconservative hypersurface. So for that purpose we assume that here mean curvature is not constant and gradient is not equal to 0. And then the gradient H is eigenvector as I mentioned earlier. Now another important point is here, there do not exist biconservative Lagrange hypersurface in non-flat Lagrange space form with two distinct principal curvature of non-constant mean curvature with complex eigenvalue, because I have a shape operator which is complex eigenvalue, so already we have two eigenvalue, okay, and the other one is here minus nh upon 2, so it is real, okay, so it's not possible. So the shape operator will take this form, which is given by 3.1, means if I have orthonormal basis, then A E1 equal to lambda E1 minus mu E2, A E2 equal to mu E1 plus lambda E2, and then H EI equal to lambda EI for I equal to 3 to n. Then for simplicity we have taken these notations also, and the gradient is defined by 3.2. As we have taken gradient is parallel to vector field En, and therefore ENH will not be 0 and other will be 0 here. Then covariant derivative of basis vectors will be given by this way, by 3.4. So if you differentiate metric conditions with respect to a vector, then we are getting these connection coefficient relation between the connection coefficients, and we find here that omega iki equal to 0, and then omega jki plus ikj equal to 0. Then using mean curvature and the shape operator, we can find the relation 3.6. And then this lemma is very important for classification. So if you have biconservative Lagrange hypersurface in non-flat Lagrange space form having shape operator with complex eigenvalue, then using Kodaji equations we find the relation between eigenvalue and connection coefficients with respect to orthonormal basis, which is given by these equations. So here this lemma will say that the eigenvalue lambda n is simple, means it is not equal to with any other eigenvalue, so it has multiplicity 1. From here you can see by the proof, because it contradicts one of the equation of the Kodaji given by 3.3. Then again in this lemma we find some of the other coefficients are 0, which is given by I n equal to 0. Then again this lemma also shows that the sum of other coefficient is 0. In this lemma again we try to find some other coefficients, connection coefficients, which is 0. Then now in this lemma we are able to find out covariant derivative of the basis vectors for biconservative Lagrange hypersurface. So here two cases, I have taken both the cases. It is possible that the hypersurface has all distinct principal curvature, and it is possible that it may have, not all distinct principal curvature. So just I have taken arbitrary number q. So then in both the cases for the basis vector E and EI we have different covariant formula. Using all this we are able to prove here that every biconservative hypersurface, Lagrange hypersurface in non-flat Lagrange space form is of constant mean curvature. Because if we evaluate this curvature, then we are getting equation 3.30, c plus lambda n is 0, and if you differentiate it, then we are getting a contradiction, means we find lambda equal to 0, and if lambda equal to 0, then from 3.30 we get c equal to 0, and which contradict our condition of non-flat Lagrange space form. Okay, so this is the classification for non-flat Lagrange space form. The next one is related to biharmony. So if a submanifold satisfies tangential part of biharmonic equation is called y-conservative, but then the normal part is given by this equation, delta h equal to this, and then we find that trace A square equal to NC because of that the Ivry-Lagrange hypersurface has constant mean curvature, so it has a constant mean curvature. Then from this equation, normal part, we get this equal to means 0, and then the scalar curvature is given by this way. Then this is the last result. Ivry biharmonic Lagrange hypersurface in non-flat Lagrange form with complex eigenvalue has constant mean curvature and constant scalar curvature. This is the classification.
Okay. Is there any question?
I don't understand. So I understand what mean delta H without arrow.
Okay.
But what means this notation
Delta H
with arrow?
without arrow. You understand delta H without arrow?
Yes, with arrow. If you use arrow, what this means?
It means it has means the position vector have components.
But so it depends on coordinate system.
Yes.
But I think that this coordinate system must be special.
Not
Everybody, any coordinate system, it seems strange. I don't understand.
because like the hypersurface is immersed in the Euclidean space. So means if you have n-dimensional, so here will have this component. And each component is a function of n parameters.
For example, I understand if it would be in Euclidean space, then all is okay. But if other manifold not necessary,
No, I mean means if they manifold you can consider as a submanifold of Euclidean space. Okay. So again, that is immersed in that one, and then again it is subset. We'll get this.
So what is the mean curvature vector for a hypersurface? Because I know what the mean curvature is, but the mean curvature vector,
Yeah.
is it just multiplied by the normal vector?
No, that is the average, no? Means the mean curvature is sum of the average of eigenvalues.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have a direction.
And what?
Yeah, then
what is the
multiply with
direction?
this. Yeah,
What's the direction?
normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah,
yeah.
normal.
Okay.
Other questions? So, thanks, people there.